Krishna Krishna Shiva Deva Gada Shiva Sadeva Bhakta. Are you here clearly? Krishna Krishna Krishna.
It is breaking, Mataji, a little bit.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Hare, Hare I'll be looking at the computer. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Shri Radha Kalachan Ji ki, Srila Prabhupada Ji ki jai. Welcome everybody, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We can go like a quick round of names. What is your name?
Nakun, Draupadi, Starry, Prerna, Ritika,
Atul. Radhakrishna.
Premamrita,
Puriya and Amruteshwar.
Yes. Maybe you can sit on it.
Nandini Devi, Zanisia.
Welcome. We also have devotees online. Everybody's name is not clear, but we have Sucharya, we have Kylie. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, you can just unmute and state your name.
Hi, Krishna. Kaylee.
Hey. By the way, devotees can see you here on the screen on the side.
Oh.
Welcome. Okay, welcome whoever that is behind the iPhone and behind the Giriraj. Sheila, is that? Welcome, welcome. There's a rule before you sit in the seminar. You're supposed to state your name.
I am Nikhil.
Nikhil, hello. We're trying to connect emotionally, so All
Hare
right.
Krishna, Sucharya, thank you so much for the meeting.
Haribol, Haribol.
Hare Krishna, this is Sadanandini Devidas.
Haribol. Yes.
Hare Krishna, this is Madhurya Sindhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for joining us on Zoom. So let's begin this presentation. Why this title, Emotionally Mature Spirituality? Like, why? Isn't spirituality naturally emotionally mature? And what does emotion and spirituality have to do with one another? Relatively speaking, our Hare Krishna movement is very young. They're just 50 years old in comparison with the Christianity or Islam. They've been around thousands of years. So they have done many more mistakes. And we can actually see in the history of religious history, religious organizations, they made many emotionally immature decisions, many behaviors that were emotionally immature that caused, yes.
You're in the dark. Can I turn the light on or would you prefer no light? Because you are, you're like, I have this little light on the side. How about this one?
Yeah, I don't know how to operate these lights here, so please feel free to.
It's plugged in, we have it on the other end, we have the program here, let's see.
So, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Well, that's, yeah, much better.
Okay.
So sometimes we may take it as human beings, we may take it for granted that anything spiritual is okay. As soon as we put something spirituality, we think that it's emotionally mature. So there have been many errors. And so with the idea of this presentation, the goal is to turn our hearts, to look within, to see individually where we stand in terms of emotional maturity, and also as a community, as an organization. Welcome. What is your name?
Antari.
Antari, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So the goal is to do a little bit of self-reflection individually, as a community, and as humanity, I suppose. So we'll go back hundreds and thousands of years ago to see what is not very emotionally mature. This is the history of Nrsimhadev, Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu. I'm sorry, but this is yeah, you can, thank you. So in this story, we see all kinds of examples. We see emotionally immature spirituality. We also see emotionally immature atheism. We also see emotionally mature spirituality, which is Prahlad Maharaj. We see demoniac culture as well. So what happens is, like, just before the talk, we were discussing, we feel more comfortable to say I'm spiritual rather than saying I'm religious, because the human beings have exploited that word so much. Religion has been exploited, it's been raped so much that we don't want to identify. And that was, in one sense, the situation also for Prahlad Maharaj, that the institutional culture, you can say, his own father wanted to be God. And then the way he behaved was trying to institutionalize everyone to believe that he's God. And that was a beginning of emotionally immature religious culture, to subdue those who are, oppress those who are under leadership by making them believe whatever it is that you want them to believe. So that's like the beginning of that emotionally mature religiosity, in that sense, trying to convert it into religion. Okay, so I'll be giving some examples. If anybody is not aware of these characters, please just raise your hand and then I'll give a brief.
I think there's gonna be many people not aware.
Oh, okay. So I'll give like a short story about each of this character. We go through the emotion. This is a presentation where you can raise your hand anytime during the presentation. If you have a question, you have a comment. Yes.
it helps me see things from many perspectives. So when you speak about Maharaja's father wanting to be God, is that kind of like how the false ego acts as well, and it tries to abuse
Yes.
the jiva and steal it from its rightful father, the Paramatma Krishna?
Yes. And you know what is very special about this particular story, which will be the theme today, major theme? He was the father of a 5-year-old boy, but his ego got such a hold of him that he was willing to murder his own son. I mean, what can be more emotionally immature in trying to establish some religiosity? I'm God, everybody worship me. He was willing to kill his own child. And we've seen all this kind of examples, gruesome examples. In this story, this is a first sign. I mean, these are some things according to my research based on Prahlad Maharaj's teachings, which was a 5-year-old boy who was tortured by his father. There was attempts to murder several times.
And this happened many millennia.
Yes, yes, many thousands, yeah. Yeah. It was not in 2024.
Although we read about crazy things.
Yes. Yes, yes,
Present.
yes. Okay, so these are some things I've captured. This is not limited to, these are not the only signs. There are many more signs, but these will be signs that we will be addressing today. First thing is low self-awareness. They're not self-aware. Everything is blind. That's why they don't believe blindly. We learned that lesson through different religiosity. So there was he was a progenitor. He was not just an ordinary human being. His name was Daksha. He was a great personality living in the heavens, not even on earth. So to begin with, awareness has nothing to do with which country we live in or what religion we are born under. It doesn't matter. Even somebody can be a demigod and kids could still deny emotional realities. So he was very much in denial. He did not respect Lord Shiva. How many of you know Lord Shiva? Lord Shiva is the one standing here. This is Lord Shiva. He's a very special, he's also known as the god of destruction. He ends things, he closes the chapters in the universal picture. So Lord Shiva was not respected by Daksha because Daksha had his own idea of what spiritual is and what spiritual is not. So that's typical of emotional immaturity, to put people in a box or to put religion or spirituality in a box. Only if you follow my religion and you chant my mantra, you're spiritual, otherwise you're not. So that was a situation with Daksha. He said, yeah.
No, I'm sorry, continue. I just wanted to, in a reference at one point, explain how Shiva, Lord Shiva, connects with God, the Supreme Person.
Yeah, yeah.
Could you go over that?
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking to end with that.
I'm sorry.
No, end with the story with that. So where was I?
Daksha.
Yes. So what Daksha's problem was, he was very clean, externally very clean. He was very elegantly dressed. He would take bath, I don't know how many times a day. He would wear gorgeous clothes. He would put makeup on, oil his hair, you name it. Very manicured fingers, although he was as a man, but he was very, he would take care of his body in a very special way. So according to his values, anyone who's spiritual should also appear in that way. And Lord Shiva is a complete opposite. He has matted hair, he has ashes all over his body, he wears skulls as a garland. It's like completely opposite. So Daksha determined that this personality, it cannot be spiritual. But actually, Lord Shiva, he is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho. He's known as the best devotee, best spiritualist, basically, best of all spiritualists, because spirituality does not depend on our external body or how we dress or what we do necessarily. Spirituality is about what we are being, in essence, who we are. And so Lord Shiva was the perfection of among the devotees. was a perfection of a personality that loved the Lord so much. And it didn't matter how he was dressed or he would live in the crematorium because he was filled with bliss. He was filled with emotional maturity, you can say. So there are, if you are interested, you can go and study what happens in this story. So this Daksha didn't always have a goat's head. He was a normal person. Like I said, you imagine he would put makeup on and facials and whatnot. So he had a very pretty face. But because of his emotional immaturity, it led him to get his head cut off because he did atrocious things. He murdered he became a cause of murder of his own daughter. So then he got a goat head at the end. So they say in Hindi, me and mine, we would say me. Also in English, you say me, right? Me. So if we just tweak the pronunciation, it's like meh, meh. And that's what goats do. So going beyond emotional immaturity means meh, meh, meh. So if we don't grow up and go beyond meh, we will also get a goat head. It's a story to remember. So that because of Daksha's low self-awareness, he didn't know what is spirituality. He didn't know that in his own heart was kalmasha, means dirt. There's a beautiful bhajan that describes that ಹೊಲೆಯ ಬಂದಾನೆಂದು ಒಳಗೆ ದೇವರ ಮಾಡಿ ಘಣ ಘಣ ಘಂಟೆ ಬಾರಿಸುತ್ತಾ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಕೋಪ ಹೊಲೆಯಲ್ಲವೇನಯ್ಯ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ವಂಚನೆ ಹೊಲೆಯಲ್ಲವೇನಯ್ಯ ಇಂಥ ಹೊರಗಿದ್ದ ಹೊಲೆಯನ್ನ ಮನಗೆ ತುಂಬಿಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡು ಇದಕ್ಕೇನು ಮದ್ದು ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲ. It's like a solution song that says that we may be very well dressed and perfumed, and we may stand at the door and look at a person who is holeya, means a low caste person, and say shoo shoo shoo. You may say that thinking that there's external dirt, but oh my dear mind, oh my dear, this is a song to the Lord. Oh my dear Lord, I'm not realizing the self-awareness is not there, that the dirt that I'm looking outside and pointing at 1,000 times, that dirt is within me. Because of that sense of contamination of the heart, I'm filled with pride, I'm filled with dirt. So what is the point of Ghana Ghana Gante? I'm taking, you can call it Mridanga, Kartal, singing the holy name and saying, oh, these people are sinful. But if I'm carrying the sin within me, I'm not actually purified. So the bath that we need to take, the holy name bathes us, it purifies us, but we need to let the holy name purify us by allowing that contamination to be flushed out. And that was what Daksha's issue was. And finally, he got salvation. We may not even get a goat's head, but he realized his mistake after he got the goat head. Okay, that's about Daksha. Then we have one more sign I want to bring up is, this is a story of a husband and wife and a kid, and this king, traditionally kings would have multiple wives. It was religious to do that. So he had 2 wives, and one wife was neglected. And the first wife was actually very moral, very ethical, but the husband was neglecting her. And the other wife was very romantic, call her. And he was favoring this second wife. And the second wife was really insecure and lack of self-awareness, obviously. So she was trying to separate the older son from the king, because she was really scared that the king will make this younger boy the next prince and not her son. So what did she do? She minimized the importance of personal harmony and happiness. She started manipulating, she started mistreating the little boy. So she created discord within her own family. I have, in my professional life as a psychotherapist, as an astrologer, I do family harmony readings and all. And sometimes I wonder why people think they're in the same boat. Marriage is like a boat. But they keep fighting. Your side, it's your fault. Your side of the boat is broken. There's a hole in it. It has nothing to do with me. It's like, hello, it's the boat. You're going to sink too. How can you say it's your side of the boat? What does it even mean? So sometimes we minimize harmony because we don't realize, we don't have the self-awareness. So this example is like that. We could look within and see how much are we prioritizing personal harmony and happiness. One more thing, why, like, no, I'm harmonious, I'm just creating trouble to others. No, it doesn't work like that. She was constantly in anxiety. Constant anxiety. Does the king like me more? I have to cause another conflict between them so that I can still have the superior position. Same with Duryodhan. Duryodhan was another example. All bad kings. They're constantly anxious. When we're not doing the right thing, we're always afraid of being caught. When we're doing the right thing, we can be peaceful. So when we don't prioritize personal harmony and happiness within family, then we are also anxious. Okay, third, prioritizing external results over inner growth. Ooh, that's a big one. Because it includes first and second. Lack of self-awareness, not harmonizing, and therefore what happens as a result of that, we focus on externals. Do I have a big house? Is my car better? Is my dress more branded? Get materialistic externals. And in this picture, we see the father and son, and they went to another level. Their external results was to plunder the kingdom of the cousins and take over, and no personal growth investment. When Duryodhan, there were two cousins, both deserved to have half the kingdom. But this guy, Duryodhan, the younger boy, he didn't want to share. He said, I will not give enough space to drop a pin. And he sent this boy's 5 brothers to the forest. He just sent them on an exile. So when these guys were on the exile, when Pandavas were on exile, Duryodhan could not sleep a single day. You knew that? He was constantly anxious. What are they doing in the forest? Are they acquiring some mystical power? Are they making allies with some other kingdom? So he would every day send spies to check on the Pandavas, what they are up to. And Pandavas were in the forest, no royal clothes, no soft bed, no AC room, no maids, not even cooked food. They were just eating berries and covering themselves with some deer skin and making homes with bamboo. They were peacefully sleeping. And of course, they were also acquiring mystical powers. So the point is, when we when we become attached to external results and avoid inner growth, and instead of investing in, why am I so insecure? I sent them to the forest. Let me at least be happy. I mean, at least that much, even that he didn't have. He could have been a happy guy. Okay, 13 years, at least let me relax. He couldn't. So that's what means whenever I'm feeling envious, whenever I'm feeling competitive, instead of going and trying to achieve something bigger, like maybe I see some other author publishing a new book and I say, oh my God, I'm feeling insecure. If I don't have the self-awareness to look within and see, wait a minute, why am I feeling so agitated? Let me see what is happening on the self-awareness level. That's called emotional maturity. We're not saying emotional maturity means you never feel any negative emotion. We might feel, but it's about how I deal with it. And in the mode of passion, when I'm in passion, I will write another book and I'll do more publicity. That will be me. So prioritizing the external. But if I am wise and I want to work on my emotional maturity, I look within and say, how can I invest in my personal growth? How can I feel the sense of security without depending on the external? No, my sense of self-worth has nothing to do with my net worth. My self-worth is not based on how many books I sell. I mean, I'm giving this example because I'm an author. I go through that, but it could be anything. How much money you make, how much you score, whatever, how many clothes you have, and nothing external can be equal to our sense of self-worth. So this point is about prioritizing inner growth. I mean, not prioritizing inner growth, because you were talking about signs of emotionally unhealthy spirituality. And of course, our favorite character today, Hiranyakashipu, his idea was ego over truth. Ego over, what does it say there? Let me see. Mercy. Ego over mercy. So if we're emotionally unhealthy, we want to deny. Don't want to take a look at the truth. No. I don't care. There's a drawing I got made for one of my premarital training courses. I should have had it there. There's a guy drowning and he's holding this heavy thing called ego. It's written ego. And then he's trying to save himself, and the wife is saying, let go of that other hand. And he's holding on to the ego. So sometimes marriages break when we hold on to egos, relationships break, sometimes kingdom breaks, religious organization break, people fall down from spiritual positions. All kinds of catastrophe happens when we don't let go of the ego. And that's what Hiranyakashipu did. He's literally throwing away the sun because the sun is unwilling to accept the falsity. And Prahlad is saying, I'm sorry, but you're not God. He wasn't challenging. He was innocent. So you cannot be God. You're just a demon. You cannot be God. Okay, anything so far?
I'm wondering maybe that one would close some of the words again.
You can just slide it down.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you.
You asking that for a question?
Anything that comes up for
I
you.
just thought you might describe a little bit about Lord Shiva to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is the relationship there?
Well, he's the grandson. He's the grandson, relationally speaking. We see Lord Shiva as, oh, some other demigod. That's our visions. And I mean, even if we're studying Vedas, sometimes we say, oh, Lord Shiva is a demigod. But there's always interconnectedness, familial relation between them. So Lord Shiva is actually the grandson of Krishna because he's a son of Brahma, and Brahma is the son of Vishnu. So that's the lineage. And on the other hand, Lord Shiva is also the greatest of all the devotees, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho. So their relationship is not how we think, oh, he's superior. No, he's superior. There have been historical murders and wars between devotees of Vishnu and devotees of Lord Shiva. They killed each other during the time of Ramanujacharya. The devotees of Vishnu hated Lord Shiva, and the devotees of Shiva hated Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu and Shiva are thinking what these guys are doing. Why are they so emotionally immature? What are they doing? It's like, yes.
Could we go back to the previous slide? No. Yeah. On point 3, external results over inner growth. So do they have to be mutually exclusive?
Well, here it's about giving more importance to external results. And usually, if we're talking about spirituality, it's a tightrope walk. It's actually a double-edged sword. Because if I want to appear spiritual, I may pretend to be a nice devotee. I may pretend to be very knowledgeable, but internally I may not be applying those principles. I may speak about it. I may sit on the throne or the Vyasasan and say things, you should not do this, you should do this. But internally, I may not have that inner growth to accept those things. So in material sense, depends what we're talking about. If we're talking about an invention, I'm supposed to invent a medicine to cure cancer. There needs to be a balance, obviously. And I would say, yeah, same thing can be applied spiritually too. Sometimes they say, fake it until you make it. So if I want to appear spiritual, maybe it's a good thing to come every day to temple and show that, hey, hello, I'm here. I was here. You were not here, or whatever. You know, I'm always dressed with sari and you're going around with pants, or whatever. You know, we could go to that extent of immaturity to put ourselves above others. So that could also mean external, right? So external, but we shouldn't neglect the external. Like, it's not that I never go to the temple, but I'm very spiritual. Or what? I don't chant. I don't need to be. Yeah.
what made me think about it is a friend who's a surgeon. His comment was that I have to have a certain demeanor to inspire confidence in my patient. If I did not, I wouldn't come across as a confident surgeon. But that doesn't mean that this individual is not spiritual or. you know,
Well, yeah, I think there the lines get blurred because one thing is him as a surgeon. Some people are very good with putting a lot of credentials and looking very confident, being on YouTube everywhere, making amazing videos. But maybe they killed 13 patients out of 14. So in that case, I would say the inner growth for the doctor is, learn to save lives. Don't just put yourself out there to show that externally you're successful and you have more degrees. And so the principle is the inner growth should be bigger. You may have seen this image of, there are two carrots. One carrot, you can see from afar, there's a carrot, very, very tiny carrot underground, but the leaf is very, how do you call it? Lush, yeah, very flamboyant leaf. And then there's another carrot, big underneath, and there's a tiny little leaf coming out. So the tendency is to want to go and grab the one which has lush leaves and to ignore this. So there may be a surgeon who's really good at his job, but doesn't have that leaf. So the point is, it's better to be the bigger carrot underneath and less fluff than to focus on the externals and not have substance to it. So I would say the doctor, in this case, the surgeon's spiritual journey could mean, am I learning better skills and tools as a surgeon? Or am I only focused on looking like a successful surgeon? That would be his path towards spirituality, which means aligning to the values of a surgeon, which is to save lives. And not only about getting the validation of people, oh, he has a demeanor of the best surgeon around. Yeah, does it help? Because it's not very black and white. It involves many factors. Yeah.
May I ask then, if you have a normal sized carrot and a normal sized leaf, that you're growing your inner self and you're also growing your external, well, the priority is always inner growth. How do you keep yourself in check? It's not that you don't want to let your external results just sit down here, or maybe you do, but how do you keep yourself in check and make sure that your inner growth is always outweighing your external in a healthy way, as well as growing your external? Sorry, that sounded like a
No, it's a good question. It's a practical question. We are not just some monks that we can run off to the mountains and forget about the external. We need to be respected in the society and we need to behave in ways which are respectable. We dress in respectable ways. We have a respectable profession. We get into marriage life in a respectable way. That's part of, the journey of spiritual life involves all that. So we're not saying just neglect it, because that would be emotionally immature to say, just take all the checker off, just focus on your depth. That would be emotionally immature. We need to be aware, but I would say there's not like a cookie cut answer for this question that can fit everybody. There's no one shoe size that fits everyone, because maybe for you, it's about taking risks that will help you grow internally. And for someone else, it's about taking less risks and being more cautious in their life. That's what means emotional maturity. For someone else to stand up and voice their opinion and be assertive, maybe their path of being emotionally mature. And for someone else to take the backstage and keep quiet and be an observer could be their way. So how do we determine? First is to understand our nature. There is, of course, nature and nurture. Nature is something we may be born with, but nurture is when we come amongst the association of devotees and we nurture those qualities. So when we combine the two, then you understand what is my nature and am I aligning to the community that you choose. If we choose the right community, we can see the results will be seen. Are you inspiring others? It will come. Actually, I have more that may get more of your answer. Yes, please.
I was gonna say for this, what I think of is your external results should be, the focus with that is it should be focused for your inner growth. Like your external results or everything external is for your inner growth. So each people will be individualized like that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I really love this slide because one of the things that I've heard, like in Krishna consciousness or even like thought at one point is like, just chant and you'll get there. But you can't like just physically sit in one spot 16 hours and expect all of your problems to just fully go away. Because you chant, you'll be given opportunities to work on yourself or things like that. So
Outcomes, right?
so, and I was also thinking, also while talking, the inner growth with the other slide, it's not just your own inner growth. Like your japa is for like yourself, and it will be inner growth for you, but then also prioritizing other people's inner growth over external results.
Yeah, like family or a community. If you're a leader in the community, you don't want outside to think, oh, our group is so good, but you also want to pay attention that the group is feeling belong, they're studying nicely, they're growing, not just show off. We have more members than you. That would be focusing on external. Yeah. Yes.
I actually wanted to just all three perspectives I've heard so far, starting with yours. Could you kind of remind me of what your question was about? With the number 3?
External, yeah.
Prioritizing external results. A lot of that comes from, first, I would like to say the first thing I have been observing when it comes to the spiritual path, it has to be selfless and not selfish, because you're not taking the path because you want to be a better person in general, but also because you want to make sure you're a good person for people, because we're here to be and harmonize and be with other people. So going down that path, you have to be selfless. You can't think of just me. I'm only doing this because I'm going to be the only good person. You have to do it because you want to inspire others to be good people. And your point as well, what was your point?
How do you make sure that you're growing the top of the carrot and the bottom?
That's another part I was thinking about, because I struggled with that a lot. Letting certain events and things that was happening in my life prevent me from working on this part, and like she said, having balance is important, because when you're like this, it's hard to tell, am I really doing the work, because you'll drop down here and forget about up there, or you'll be up here and forget about down there. So struggling with that, it made me accept reality and stop trying to prioritize my materialistic things over what was on the inside, because the inside could be rotten, like an egg, or a bad apple, or some moldy bread. And the external could be shiny, like gold, like you were saying. And just knowing that.
And it's not sustainable.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That was, yes.
So, I don't know if I walked in late, but a part of the title, it says it has spirituality in it. And I've heard some people say doing the work or getting things done, or things will be healed or something like that. It's like a completion, a goal is attained. Can you offer an authorized or like a proper definition? What is spirituality?
It's coming.
Okay.
Because this is just 5% of the presentation.
Oh my God.
Okay, so this is just like icebreaker. Okay, now we'll get into the solution part. So let's define emotional maturity first, shall we? Would you like to read what's on the screen?
Yeah.
Anyway. I'm on.
Emotional maturity is about your ability to understand and manage your emotions. A level of self-understanding with regard to their thoughts and behaviors, and then decide how to best approach and cope with situations that might otherwise be trying or challenging.
Okay, basic definition that anybody can relate. You don't have to be like spiritual. No, it can apply to anybody. These are more examples of the fact that see Srimad Bhagavatam or many scriptures, any religious scripture, it has instances of people making mistakes and learning from that mistake. It's full of failures. So nobody's saying that emotional maturity means you never make a mistake. That's not emotional maturity. But sometimes when we pretend to show that we don't make any mistakes is when we are emotionally immature. That's what happened to our movement sometimes. Pretend, push it under the carpet, push all your issues under the carpet. Don't deal with it, because you know why? Spiritual means you have to be perfect. So one definition, one answer to your question is, spirituality doesn't mean perfection on the material level. It's not. Spiritual basically means aligning to God's will. Simple definition. Here, Ambrish Maharaj did that. He aligned to God's will. He wasn't thinking, meh, meh. And then we see that the sage who got upset with Ambrish ran all around the world for shelter. Why? Because he was so focused on, I'm upset. He didn't even say, I'm feeling upset. Because when we say, I'm feeling upset, it's easy to deal with it. But when we say, I am upset, we do horrendous things. And that's the first lesson in connection between emotional and spiritual. Spiritual means you know that you're a spirit soul. You know that all these mundane things doesn't really affect you. And emotion is a complete opposite of spiritual in one sense. But unless they both integrate and there's a proper balanced bridge, we cannot be spiritually mature if we are emotionally immature. It's impossible. So in Parikshit Maharaj's case too, he was so thirsty and he became so upset that he put the snake around the Shamika Rishi. Happened. But how he dealt with it was what was showing his emotional maturity. He didn't argue, he didn't defend, he didn't justify, he didn't try to counter curse. None of those signs that we just read. He just said, I would find peace if I take responsibility for this. And he just left. In 7 days, he was cursed to die in 7 days. Even in that situation, he didn't get angry. He didn't justify. He could have. Say, come on, I just put a snake. Why are you cursing me to die in 7 days? He didn't. So emotional maturity means seeing God's hand in the circumstances. I mean, emotionally mature spirituality means seeing God's hand. Because another way around, you cannot be emotionally mature if you don't accept spirituality. Both are like incomplete without the other. Yes.
So it's very interesting to note that the king that was the king of the whole world was cursed. He had life, he had the kingdom, he had children, and he walked right away from them. And you know what he did? He sat down to hear spirituality, hear about his relationship, about all the pastimes of the Supreme Lord God. That's what he chose to do. Well, 7 days of his life.
And the point that she was making, he didn't just do it for himself. He did it for the benefit of the entire world. He got all the sages come to the forest. He wasn't thinking, in 7 days, I'm going to die. You all just go away. You know, I have to focus on me. No, he was concerned about every member who was sitting there. That's the magic of spirituality. So these are the three things that we can see in great personalities and examples of Srimad Bhagavatam. They don't blame anybody else. First sign of spiritually mature, emotionally mature spirituality, we don't blame anyone. We don't blame Suruchi. We don't blame Uttanapad. We don't blame anybody for our miseries. We understand that I have my karma, I have my action. And then repentance, which Parikshit did. He didn't go around cursing others, but he actually was repenting. He was very, very repentful. That's another sign of emotional maturity. But let me warn you, there is a boundary. If you go down into repentance and it leads you to guilt, then it's not spiritually beneficial. Yeah. Just to make sure, because some of us have a tendency to go into the tamas guna in ignorance. And most of all, this is another answer to your question. Spirituality means vulnerability. Without being vulnerable, we cannot be emotionally mature. It's not possible. Then all the pretense happens and all the masks. Yes.
I was gonna say for the repentance, a mentor of mine described the 3 different like modes. I forgot what passion was, but I remember like ignorance was just being guilty and like
Yeah,
thinking of the
totally
past and
ignorance.
stuff there. I think passion was doing, okay, I gotta fix this like right now. And then mode of goodness was like, okay, I made a mistake.
Process
Let me
it.
reflect, let me see if there's a way I can make it
Exactly.
better and like focus on like the future, what you're gonna do about it.
And that
Guilt
requires a lot of
is something-
vulnerability.
And that requires vulnerability.
Because in passion, we cannot be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so the key aspects are taking responsibility, but that means we have to accept powerlessness. Means we cannot fix it. Taking powerlessness means beyond passion. Passion means I'll fix it. But I can't. And accepting powerlessness and your point being of service. Moving from me to going out there. So spirituality, can you please read it?
Spirituality is inherently vulnerable.
Read the next one too.
Spirituality means my life is not working. It's not going to work with what I'm doing now. I am not perfect.
See, simple. It's simple truth, but all life we get stuck doing everything other than that. Yeah. Isn't it? Isn't it that why we come to spirituality? Because I know that my material life didn't work for me. No amount of clothes in my closet satisfies me. No amount of friends, no amount of cars. Nothing material is working for me. That's why we come. And when we come, especially when you come to the temple, we lay flat on earth, surrender to God. It's not working. What I'm doing is not working. Please, you take charge. I surrender. Yeah, like that. Thank you for the demo. But that act, if we can imbibe it emotionally, and every second we have that consciousness. I don't know the solution. Krishna knows the solution. And then that's so emotionally healthy spirituality. It's impossible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. This is actually a real book written by a Christian priest. It's confessions of his leadership, how he was emotionally immature. And it's a book, you can actually Google it, search it. This is for leaders. He wrote especially for leaders, how in an organization, if you're emotionally immature, you can mess up the members. Yeah, if you like to take a look. There is many more examples, but I'm going to get into the principles here. For those of you who know Arjuna and Duryodhana, what was the difference between Arjuna and Duryodhana? Arjun was able to ask for what he needed, to talk about his feelings, and being ready to have those hard conversations. That's what means emotionally mature spirituality. And that's what means vulnerability too. It's, being open to be hurt sometimes, being open to show that I'm not perfect. And Duryodhana was not willing to do that. He just said, I want the army, and that's it. He wasn't even able to express what he needed. Yeah, we'll take the questions at the end. But I just want to finish this concept of principle. So what does it mean having hard conversations? Having hard conversation includes all the things we've spoken so far. The sense of self-awareness, going beyond a sense of false ego, being able to determine what is it that I want, what I want to experience. And like Duryodhana, he wasn't even clear. He just was so emotionally immature. He was willing to sacrifice everybody's life for his sake. And he was not willing to have that hard conversation. What does it mean? It means same needs, but different emotional level of health. Both Arjuna and Duryodhana wanted Krishna to help them in the Mahabharata battle. And Duryodhana was ruled by insecurity. So he was very aggressive. So that's what happens when we're emotionally immature. We try to compensate for our sense of insecurity with external things. We tend to compensate our lack of self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem with aggression. Boss around. because I don't have a deep sense of self-worth. That's why we usually find narcissists to be having very, very fragile ego. Externally, they're very bossy, but internally, they don't have that self-worth. But Arjuna had that sense of self-worth. And that's vulnerability, which we failing within our organization. Now that she's not there, I can speak a little bit more ISKCON jargon. Sometimes we have this issue with, no, don't show your weakness. Shouldn't show that you have a weakness. And then what happens? Then we wear masks. And then the mask, one day it'll fall off. How long can we hold on to that mask? So these are the two extremes, but sincerity means vulnerability. I'm pleased with Krishna, we can be vulnerable. I'm pleased with our mentors, with our best friends. So that's what means having the hard conversation. To be able to identify that I had this insecurity and I don't want to compensate for that. In the material world, it's all about compensation until the mask falls off. And then everything goes to hell. Everything breaks apart. Everything is just ended. Sincerity means vulnerability. Now, I gave a presentation in Mayapur on this topic, and some people just didn't get it. They just kept saying, why do you use the word vulnerability? Why don't you just say humility? I said, but humility and vulnerability are not the same. They're very different. But people had huge issues. They did not like that word. So I think that's the current issue within our organization. We are not willing to do what it takes to really discover what is going on individually. Yes.
Do you have like thoughts about how to do that?
Yeah.
So like if it makes sense to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it needs to be done very carefully, because I think one of the obstacles to do it is the aspect of confidentiality. Because in order to be vulnerable, we need to cultivate that confidentiality within relationships. Without that, vulnerability will be only misused by people. They'll use it against you to destroy you, or to put you down, or to increase their own sense of superiority. So it needs to be done very carefully. But to begin, I would say today's suggestion, I have a suggestion for today, so it's coming. You had something to say.
Say one of the reasons the Gita is so powerful is because it's Arjuna fully giving his
Exactly.
heart. Like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, please help me.
And he wasn't lacking any weapons. You know, he had all the weapons in the world.
And he keeps asking when he doesn't understand something. He keeps asking, or he's like, I still
Totally
don't get
vulnerable.
it." He keeps
Totally.
asking questions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like here right now, he's vulnerable. He wants his help. And battlefield also. I had that slide. Let me show you. It comes. Let me show you that slide. It's here. About Arjuna's vulnerability not because of lacking weapons or lacking mantras. That's exactly what you said. He didn't run out of weapons, nor did he lack skills. It came from that emotionally vulnerable situation, telling Krishna, I don't know how to make this work. So that's vulnerability, and that's what led, as you said, for the Gita, that's what led him to victory.
And also, even he wasn't insecure about him winning. Like, he was sad about these people dying. Because Krishna was on his side, he knew that they would win the battle.
Yeah.
And he was like, should we fight this battle?
Yeah, he was very vulnerable. He didn't pretend. Like, he was sincere. He was very sincere. Okay. So here will be the verses that I want to quote from Prahlad Maharaj. That'll give us very authentic explanations in terms of what is Prahlad Maharaj's strength? What does it mean emotionally, spiritual? Because he didn't try to defeat his father. That was not his mood at all. That's emotionally mature. Sometimes we may take Prabhupada quote. Prabhupada said this. And the other person takes another quote. No, Prabhupada said this. My Prabhupada is better than your Prabhupada. Can I have you two and one more volunteer? Come, please come. And you do the lying down pose, but the other way around. Okay, yeah, you're one. I need one more volunteer. Yeah, you can come. Yeah. Yeah, you should lie down. He's the Guru Maharaj Ji. You're lying down. Guru Maharaj Ji is resting. Please give Guru Maharaj a pillow for his head. Gurudev is sleeping. Gurudev, please have rest. He's having his afternoon nap after giving a class all day. Yes. And you come this side. You're here this side. And you're on that side. So you're both his disciples. So what is happening now is he's resting. As he's resting, you're going to massage his right foot and you're going to massage his left foot. You don't have to massage, right? Like you're massaging. And you're going to get into an argument. We're going to argue how your side of the feet is better than yours. And dramatize it, and if you want reference, I can provide you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I found one. Okay, she couldn't miss the physical. Good. So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna start. I'll be on your side. You can join her.
I said that to
You see, exactly. That side of the pant is very old. This is the thing. That side of the sock stinks more. So it's different. And then, of course, you start saying whatever you want to say. But that side
My
of the
side's better. I think I love it the way the riffs are.
Well, he kicks more with this foot, so it's very strong.
But he stands on this one most of the time, so it's pretty strong.
Right, that he does stand on the leg. But you know what? That's because he stands on that leg is more swollen.
It's so much nicer than this.
Yes.
But that stinks.
This side.
You know, I think we just, I think we need to do something to make sure that ours is better. Maybe you want to pick up like that. Okay, you're gonna wake up Guru Maharaj. Oh. You got my side of the leg.
Hey, besides.
You're supposed to say my leg, not
Oh,
your leg.
it's my leg, not your leg. Why are you so compared?
So that's the point. Sometimes we forget it is not even my leg. I get so absorbed in emotional immaturity that leads me to think
Wow.
this is my leg, and then my leg, my religious organization, my ideas, me. We keep saying marry your goat's head. Thank you, I was about to be here. Actually, this is one of the stories that actually happened. These disciples were such idiots that they really started fighting over the side of the leg. And they started beating, they started doing, and the guru gets up and says, nonsense, this is my leg. Brahmanya Shila Sampanna. So Prahlad Maharaj, he was completely cultured as a qualified Brahmana, possessing all good qualities. He was born by the mercy of Narad Muni. And that's why he was full with good qualities. And second quality, there are 10 qualities of Prahlad Maharaj that will give us a hint about what it means for us to align to Prahlad Maharaj's qualities. Satya Sandaha. He was determined to understand the absolute truth. No lies, no denial, no running away, no masks, no hiding. He was Satya. Satya means the truth. And Sandaha means a determination to find the truth. And how does it begin? Why, I started the presentation with more basics. But this is like a little advanced level. Before understanding absolute truth, we have to understand what's going on in my mind truthfully, my emotions truthfully. Only then will I be able to understand the truth of others and bigger. So it begins with a microcosm. Next is Jitendriya. How do I do that? He was fully controlled. He fully controlled the senses and the mind. Sometimes I don't even have control over my own mind. I'm going all around the town criticizing everybody.
I was gonna say, fully control doesn't mean like not use it all. It means you control how it's used.
Yeah, yeah.
Used properly. That's
Yeah,
how
Jita
it is.
Indriya means he has conquered his senses to be able to engage it. I'll tell you a story to demonstrate that. So there was a girl walking on the street and she finds a lamp. She rubs it and a genie comes out. The genie says, "What can I do for you?" What's your name again?
Draupadi?
Draupadi. "What can I do for you, Draupadi? But you have to tell me quickly because I'm the genie and you're the girl who found the lamp. You have to tell me quickly. What do you want? And if you don't tell me in the next seconds, I'm going to kill you." Tell me.
Money.
Okay. You have to say how much. You have to say how much.
Huh? 50 billion.
Yeah, but you can't take that long. You can't take that long. I'm the kind of genie that you have to be quick in what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? So the genie has so this genie was able to give anything in a second, but the risk is the second you wait, he's going to eat you alive.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so what the girl had to come up with an idea, a solution. How do you control the genie? Because the senses and mind represents the genie. If you didn't figure it out yet. One more.
The genie is like represents the senses and the mind.
So what do you want? How do you engage it? So finally she finds a pole and she tells the genie, start from the top, arrive at the bottom, then go to the top. Do that until I call you back. And the genie goes, she can breathe because after 100 things that she had to come up with, the stress, she got stressed with this genie around, which she was constantly engaging. So finally she found a way. And then when she needed, hey, genie, come back here. I need to do a university program. Help me build a bridge. It would do and say, what else can I do? Go back to the pole again. So that's the only way. It's to control basically means to have it at your access, but the way it's favorable, not the way that it's going to eat you alive. Thank you.
Let's share a verse from Srimat that goes with.
Can we finish the 10 qualities and then you want to share about that verse?
Yes, just one verse.
Okay.
It goes with the senses. Okay. It's explained, again, it's found in the scriptures, and it's always really good to have that as like a reference. But as the senses, as the genie, this like set me on fire today. Lord Kalpila, who is an incarnation of Krishna, said the senses are symbolic representations of the demigods, like the lineage, like Shiva, Brahma, all these gods outside of the supreme personality of demigods. The senses are symbolic representations of the demigods, and their natural inclination is to work under the direction of the Vedic injunctions. As the senses are representatives of the demigods, so the mind is the representative of the supreme personality of Godhead.
Nice.
The mind's natural duty is to serve. When that service spirit is engaged in devotional service to the personality of Godhead without any motive, that is the far better even than salvation.
Exactly what Prahlad Maharaj did. Thank you. Amazing. Genie's on his side. Yeah, so that's what Prahlad did. And by the way, when you said that verse, exactly Lord Shiva and the demigods, Lord Shiva is known as the Manobhimani Devata. He's the one who controls the mind. And the other demigods represents different senses. So it's exactly correlation. And this, by the way, all these Sanskrit words are from the 7th canto describing Prahlad's maturity. Atmavat sarva bhutanam. He, like the super soul, he was very kind to every living entity. It's kindness. If we are cruel, we cannot call ourselves spiritual. Ekapriya suhritamaha. And he was the best friend of everyone. Emotional maturity. Don't see anybody as an enemy. Dasavat sannata argya angrihi. To respectable elders, he was very obedient, acting exactly like a menial servant. See the discrimination. He's a best friend to all people. And the next one comes. Pitravad dina vatsalaha. And to the poor, he was very kind, like a father. to know when to discriminate. We don't become subservient to anybody. We know when to discriminate, who to take association of as a senior, who to take association as a friend, who to give association and not take association. Bhagavatam never says don't discriminate. We sometimes don't discriminate, everything is one. That's nonsense. Bhagavatam says learn to discriminate. Learn who to listen from, learn who to make friends with, understand, discriminate who to give. Some people we don't want to go and associate, take from them because they may not have higher values. Bhagavatam says it's okay, but we should be compassionate. Like Prahlad is. He's kind like a father. A father doesn't chastise the child. It's kind. Oh, you don't know how to do this? Doesn't say, you nonsense. Kind, compassionate. Bhratravat sadrishe snigdha. To the equals, he was affectionate like a sympathetic brother. Gurushva Ishvara Bhavanaha. He considered his teachers, spiritual masters, and older god brothers to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vidyartha Rupa. Vidyartha Rupa Janmadhyo Manasthamba Vivarjitaha. He was completely free from unnatural pride that arises from good education, riches, beauty, aristocracy. Like for those of you who heard the lecture in the morning, I showed that chart which said that even from doing devotional service, we could get anarthas. Pride can come, oh, I'm good at this, me, mine can become, yeah.
So I'm not sure if you've read Madame Mohini's Twice as Bright. Have you read this little book?
No.
So this is a read for you being an author. Many scenes.
I knew her personally, but I haven't got a chance to.
But I just want to reiterate that she was saying, I've been reading her book again and again, that there was a 4-hour Zoom meeting with people from all over the world during celebrating the, I think, 28th disappearance day of Archer Vigraha. So she was listening to this, and then she commented after got exams. She was a very handicapped woman, beautiful, pure soul. She got 95 on her exams, and she told her Guru Maharaj, which is Giriraj Maharaj.
Yeah, I know that story because I've heard that, but I haven't read it in the book, but yeah, please.
And so she shared that with her Guru Maharaj, and he complimented her on, on her achievement, but then he referenced the Bhagavad Gita verse that that Krishna is God is the ability within man, and she really stuck with her. She took the praise, but she took the instruction equally.
Yeah, and she was even sick when she took that exam. She was so sick. She was hardly able to make it. So yeah, in such a situation, it was like a miracle. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She was here for 6 months, right?
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That was. Okay. So coming to what can you do? You can skydive. Emotional skydiving means courage to take the risk to experience deeper levels of spirituality. Letting ourselves be vulnerable. At least pick one person. Like for her, for Madan Mohini, it was the Guru Maharaj. But she was able to be vulnerable. So we all need somebody that we can be ourselves, vulnerable, open ourselves for that change, for that transformation. And be flexible, take ownership and responsibility, know that we don't know everything, staying resilient, having a calm disposition, believing in ourselves so that we don't do the, trying to compensate for the lack of self-worth, approachability, a good sense of humor, don't take everything too seriously, look for the learning and growth from every opportunity, seeking actively multiple points of view to inform others. This is something practically we can learn through the examples of Srimad Bhagavatam. And as a community, we can help another person be there for another person to be vulnerable, so that we can gather courage together to be vulnerable. Not just go and, hey, I want to pour all my weakness to somebody. But what about being there for someone else to do that? Instead of just saying, I want somebody so I can be vulnerable, so I can tell all my problems. Actually, for women, I have a support group. I created something called outreach group. But outreach is not like outside, it's about being there for each other. You call each other, and then for 5 minutes you speak, the other person just listens. And then the other person speaks for 5 minutes about their issue. So that in that way, we are providing support both ways. It's not only about receiving, it's about giving and receiving simultaneously.
That really touches me is because, the society doesn't cater towards vulnerability, and that, on the definition you use, is spirituality, is being vulnerable. And providing the community and being able to do that for others is just so touching. Thank you for sharing.
And then we can all skydive together. A community which encourages honesty, vulnerability, and authenticity. Yeah, and you seem to be naturally very authentic type of person. I'm sure you inspire that in others. For me, it's more of a struggle. For you, it seems natural. So some of us will find it easy, for some of us, it'll be really hard to take that dive, to take that jump. Yeah, I have more things, but I think we should pause here. What time is the lecture? 5:15. Okay, maybe we can take some more questions, comments.
I just wonder if devoting your beautiful friend, Krishna Priya, turned me on to an author and lecturer called Brene Brown.
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever listened to her thing on her whole series on vulnerability?
Yes.
How?
I've read all the books, seen the videos. And then actually the origin comes from Bhagavatam.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing.
But we don't talk about it. Someone else is talking about it. We are very secretive because Lord Chaitanya was a secret incarnation. We keep all these trade secrets. I think the element that she could add more is about God. Because without God, that whole process is very risky. We become too comfortable about our vulnerability materially. But when God comes into picture, devotees come into picture, it becomes a strength. Yeah, we're safer. Otherwise, it becomes, oh, I'm vulnerable and therefore I'm proud about it. And it becomes more about me and mine, my vulnerability. And then get stuck in the first chapter of the Gita for the rest 18 chapters. Because the first chapter of the Gita is Brene Brown. And then we still need to go through Dhruva and Prithu Maharaj and arrive at Prahlad Maharaj. So it's important to add that element of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Brene Brown.
Brene Brown.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's awesome.
Also, there's another one called Melody Betty. She also speaks about the codependency, going above and beyond that, being a people pleaser, being validated by others. Yeah. Any other comments or questions?
The book you mentioned is Emotionally Healthy Spirituality.
Emotionally mature spirituality.
Oh, okay.
It's really, this one is more like from the heart, not the head. I don't have the right way to formulate it. It's like how when choosing the person to be vulnerable within, like in his time, and I don't have a guru or spiritual master myself yet. And would you go based off of like a friend in devotee confidant? Would you lean on that? How would you navigate that?
See, there are different answers. Again, it's not like a black and white answer, but what I would do, I would start journaling. I would start to, because if I haven't practiced being authentic with myself or being aware of my emotions, etc., starting out with a friend could be a little bit, at least for me, knowing my mind, the way my mind works, I wouldn't first catch somebody to offload all that. I would start with journaling. And then come to like a conclusion, summarize what it is that I really need to process. So I would say do that simultaneously. Do a lot of journaling. I would say, especially for women, it's very powerful. Then 10%, do 90% of journaling. When it's done, there are techniques. I have like a whole series of articles and things on journaling. There are prompts that helps us to become more real with the Lord. And you can journal saying, "Dear Lord." You don't have to say "Dear Diary." It's impersonal because you're connecting to the Lord. Krishna cares about every single feeling, every single emotion that we have. There's nothing too big for him, nothing too small. So we start writing and say, "Krishna, this is how I'm feeling about this, and this is the way I'm trying to process it. But these are the obstacles. Whatever comes, you process it. And then the 10% of what you've done, that you can keep it as a discussion point with a friend or a guide or whoever. That would be a healthier way. Otherwise, I've seen people who have trouble being understood when they first start out sharing with another person. First of all, the other person's spiritual advancement, maturity emotionally or lack of affects. The risks are, yeah, and first of all, how much of a help will they be? Maybe they give you a crazy idea. Go just slap the other person. Well, I don't know. I'm just saying.
In my experience, they might offer some like very elevated
Exactly.
advice, and I can't understand it because I haven't fully processed my own, like, that I need to humble myself.
Yeah.
I haven't understood that for myself yet. So when they tell me to humble myself, or you know, for example, I can't really accept it.
Yeah. And that's like one stage, right? They're giving you an advice like Narad Muni gave Dhruva Maharaj. He said, "Don't be envious, give up all this, go home." He said, "I can't go home. I can't go home. First, I need to go through the process." And then just as she was mentioning, somebody could give an elevated answer. Also, they may come from a place, good place, but they may have a completely different personality type. Like, let's say for me, waking up in the morning is hard. And I talk with somebody about it and they say, "Come on, that's not a big deal. If you're not sincere, then you're having trouble with that." And they, because for them, it's different. How it works is different. Reading, for somebody, it's very easy to read. And they may just say, "Come on, just read." Some people hear. So we have different learning styles. We have different, so you need to, first of all, you meaning the hypothetical you, but we need to figure out, who am I? What's my style? Wait, pray, ask the Lord, please send me the right person who can guide me. Please send me the right person, because this is not something I go in a Sunday feast. I look around, hey, I like that guy's hair. I like that dude's hairstyle, and I want to go and reveal my mind to that dude today. I will be vulnerable after this seminar. Shri Radha Govinda has told us to skydive. Sunday feast is the right time. I like the height of that guy, I like the hairdo of that guy, I'll do it. It doesn't work like that. It's a go to Kalachandji. By the way, he has the best hairdo. Just go to him. He has the best everything, best outfit, best smile, best everything. So go to him and say, "My dear Lord, I have a sincere desire to do the skydiving spiritually. I want to experience it. At the same time, I don't want to make certain mistakes that could slow down my progress. Please send me somebody that you think I can help and they can help me too. Let's go in a way in a selfish mode. Send me somebody that can serve me." Send me somebody that we can mutually be beneficial. We can help each other. And I'll tell you, that's when magic begins. First thing is vulnerability. Not saying, "I'll figure out who I should go, who I should find." That would be not vulnerable. Admit that I don't know who is the right person. That's the beginning. So journal, pray. Then if somebody comes around, it'll happen. It'll manifest. It'll manifest. That would be the safest, sustainable way. Otherwise, some people go, they open their minds, and the other person, whoa, I didn't know you had all those issues. And then they may distance, or we don't know what can happen if we're not ready. So we need to become ready. I saw her hand, and then, yeah.
Another thing with that process that someone had told me is you test the waters.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I think this person is someone I could be vulnerable. Here's all my childhood trauma. Like, you give
Exactly.
like doses with different people, like friends or mentors, and you see how they respond to your personality, your
That requires emotional maturity.
yeah, and then also you take the response sincerely, and then you like apply it, see how that goes. I'm mostly thinking of like with a mentor, you apply what they say, and then you like test a little more,
Yeah.
get more deeper. Because one thing with gurus and disciples, they both mutually would test each other out. Like it's not just like, I think you're cool, I want you to be my guru.
Yeah.
Like, no, let's see how we get along first. Let's see how if I can actually help you, benefit you,
Yeah.
lead you like through your spiritual life. So
Yeah, test the
even with
waters.
friends, you can test out friends.
Yeah. Me and my best friend, like our relationship grew so strong, very gradually, because she's a very private person. I'm a very like open person. So it took a long time of us meeting in the middle somewhere and like gradually testing and sharing a little deeper and deeper until now it's at the point where, it's just a very open.
How long it took?
Maybe like a year and a half, 2 years.
That's
It
healthy.
really happened. We went to India together for like 4 months, and that's where it really.
Yeah.
really
See, that's organic. It's natural way. Sometimes you want to rush things. Like I said, you want to find somebody in Sunday feast. And then, you get to know, you cram in 1.5 year of relationship in 1.5 hour, and then you never see each other again. Yes, Prabhu.
There's something about love and trust. And this past 2 weeks, a friend visited here. He's a godbrother, and we're all sitting with other godbrothers and his kind sister, but we're all very close. And as you see, the Prabhupada disciples were there. We all know each other for many years. And because there's a sense of love and trust, and he knew that he would not be judged, he was explaining how he had challenges at one point, and that he was coming home from work very stressed and having some couple of beers. And it was very, he felt love and trust. He felt at ease. He knew he wouldn't be judged, and he knew that we had his back. And asked him about how he turned the corner, what
Wow.
worked. So I think that there is something about very intimate relationship of love and trust where, that can work.
Yeah.
That vulnerability. How did we turn the corner? He divorced his wife, who was an alcoholic, left New York and moved out to another city. So he closed the book on a toxic relationship, and that gave him a lot of
Strength.
That's
peace,
That's such an important point about vulnerability. Whenever we want to go and open up ourselves, we need to be really clear if we're willing to do the changes that it takes. Otherwise, we don't want to use somebody as a garbage bin. We just want to go and vomit all our thoughts and we shouldn't do that. We should go with the mood that I want to transform myself. I have certain patterns that I want to change. Only then, that's I think the other answer to his question. Who should you should go to somebody that you know that will help you to change. Not just somebody that you just want to go and
help you to grow.
help you. Yeah, somebody who can help you to grow. Somebody who can give you a perspective that will change your habit or character. Of course, again, it's not in our hands. That's up to Krishna. But this is very important. At least when I go, I need to be clear about my motivation. Otherwise, vulnerability, like I said, if it's used only for material purposes, if it's God is not in the picture, if God is not the center, it can become very dangerous. It can become too much self-absorption, too much validating. This is the way I feel and I'm okay with it. Not wanting to change, not wanting to grow, not wanting to deepen my understanding, just becoming comfortable with my weaknesses. Then vulnerability will become just a gossip talk.
Yeah.
Talk about this, talk about my feeling, but it's not. What is the goal? Do you want to go towards Krishna or not? Yeah, I think I see two hands. Yeah, I don't know who is first. Go ahead.
I was gonna also add with the aspect of community is because you'll be able to have a different kind of relationship with different people. Like if I notice that I need to work on
Yeah.
like regulation, I'm not gonna go to my friends
Who's unregulated?
Exactly.
Exactly.
My friends that can be vulnerable with who's regulated. Like if you're like any trait, it's interesting. So one of my mentors talks like this. He often says, whenever we want to learn something, we have the logic to go like, I want to learn carpentry, I go to a carpenter. I want to learn math, I go to an algebra teacher. But when it comes to spirituality, we just like whatever. So even within spirituality, there's different aspects, and there's things that come naturally and things that we need help with.
Very nice point.
Regulation is not. So I'll go to someone who's good at regulation, or like if I'm struggling with something else, I'll go to them. And then other people can come to me at things that I'm good at, but they're not going to come to me for something I'm not good at. So having a community, it helps everyone
Become wholesome.
wholesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
well-rounded.
I agree. At the same time, we do have a group of people who have difficulty with chanting. They come together and chant. So it's not necessary that you have to go with somebody who's an expert.
Yeah.
Some of them have difficulty reading. They will not sit at home and read alone. So what we did, we said we all want it, but there's nobody that we can go and say, otherwise you'll spend all your life searching for the one who is regulated. So sometimes you say, okay, I'm irregulated, you're also, but we both want to become regulated. So why don't we come together and help each other? So sometimes we don't have to wait for the perfect person to walk there to rescue us. We could actually just come together and say, hey, why don't we set it? Like we started that group 5 a.m. I wouldn't sit alone and read. They wouldn't sit alone and read. So we said, let's come together.
Yeah.
And then what happened? It became a habit. So we can help each other even if somebody's not an expert. But I agree. At the same time, some things like reading, chanting, some things we can support each other. We don't, because there's within our organization, we did this emotionally immature thing in leadership, idealizing the teacher or the guru. Now, only a charismatic person should be followed. We didn't empower individuals to guide each other, help each other. So we don't want to do the same thing again.
It's a really
Yeah, so it's okay if we're not the strongest, but together we can go long.
the desire.
Yeah.
If you had a group and if people like, I don't want to do it, then it would be a lot harder. But if you had people like, let's do this,
Yeah.
we can do it together, then you can.
And group is just two people,
Yeah.
two people can be a group.
Yeah. But if it was you and then one person like met, like the person in the relationship, within that relationship, it wouldn't work. But if you have like the group, then you can do it.
Yeah, and it's very powerful. Because if you come together, let's say among 5, one has 50% desire, and the other has only 20, and the other has only 30. The 20 and 30 will be uplifted by the 50. And then slowly we'll attract somebody who has 80. It happened to our group actually. I was the 50. Wanted to do, but I wasn't finding the determination. I was 50. Then a couple of people came who were 20 and 30. Someday they would come, someday they wouldn't come. There were days, you'll see, I recorded it. Some days it was just me alone. But because I had announced it in the group, I kept doing it. Even with my 50, I said, today they may come. They may come, they may not come. So I kept doing it. And some days they would come, some day they wouldn't come. Then a couple of others joined. One had 60 and one had 70. And the other came eventually after months. She was 80. And she stood there every day, no matter rain, sickness, fever, she's there. But it took time. So sometime even with 50, we should start. Even if you find somebody with 20, you should start. We shouldn't wait for only someone higher. It's okay to start with someone lower to show to Krishna, if not anybody, to show to Krishna that Krishna, even if I'm not finding somebody more than me, I still want to do it. Then, only then, he reciprocates by sending somebody who was an 80.
Even
it
if
took,
you had 10 and you made the effort. Krishna
oh,
would-
yes, thank you, exactly. That's
You-
Krishna.
Even your 10 can be the bigger.
Yes, it can, yes. Very good point. Any other points? Sir, would you like to comment something, Prabhuji?
Enjoying the interaction. I'm sorry, looking at my phone because I have to
Yeah.
get to a festival meeting downstairs.
Sure, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
He looks like a very emotionally mature person. Thank you. Would you like to give us some, like a tip? How do you, because you appear to be because I read people, that's my profession. So you do look like a person who's very composed. You take your time. So can you give us all an advice?
I think you said it, align with the will of God. We've got to do that.
Yes.
Align with the will of God. Be married for as long as I am, and always say sorry every day. Then you're fine. Also, you're fine.
He's very humble,
No,
soft and sweet person that,
but that's a secret. You are the secret. And maybe hear from the first lady too. Any advice? How do we remain emotionally mature spiritually?
We were looking for slogans for Festival of Joy today, and the one we like the best was the line with the divine.
aligned with the divine.
Whoever your divine soul.
I like that.
Align with the divine.
Oh,
Except.
I like that.
Yeah, it's not my view, your view, it's his view. Yeah.
I like that very much.
I don't know if there's anybody still online, if anybody has a question from here. Madhurya Sindhu, Sadanandini, iPhone Celestine, do you any of you have any questions?
This is Madhurya Sindhu. Thank you very much. It was a very wonderful class. I don't really have a very question, but I'm very interested to listen to all the questions that the other people had and the responses that you gave. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madhurya Sindhu, for joining us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right, I think we can end here. We can chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra before we end. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam.